Brazil is kind of its own island now in BRICS. It's kind of distant. You always have the problem that, China's over there, and so now you have the United States up there. We're looking at the entire North and South America as our backyard. I think it's Brazil that could say, wait a minute. When it came to Zelensky, it was Lula who figured out Zelensky very early on. That when you're dealing with the United States, you're dealing with a 4-year cycle.
Let's pivot to this part, the serious people. And I'm going to put BRICS here. Mm-hmm. But as from a BRICS member, Brazil, I have some, doubts about Brazil. And I would like to see your perspective on how these people are, looking at all those things. Brazil is kind of in the middle of this, really in the middle. It's in the middle of the shooting. And it looks a little bit like a blind guy in the middle of the shooting. So how do you see the BRICS reacting to this? China, Russia, mostly. Now we have India with Pakistan. Serious situation. Another fire. How do you see these guys reacting and looking at this and thinking, dear Lord?
I think Brazil is very committed to BRICS. I think if you were either talking about Bolsonaro or Lula, they both were committed to BRICS. Even Bolsonaro did not pull out of BRICS.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think I think the political leadership in Brazil understands the importance of BRICS, and they understand that the momentum is there. The problem that Brazil has, I think one of the big setbacks for Brazil, and this was, I think, a big setback that a lot of people don't talk about, was the fact that Argentina pulled out of BRICS. I mean, I know that Brazil and Argentina are not, the best of allies either, but I think it was important to have another big country in the region enter BRICS, because Brazil is kind of its own island now in BRICS. It's kind of distant from BRICS in a way. Mm-hmm. And what they were aiming for, and there were a lot of doubts about Argentina. There were a lot of doubts in the other BRICS country about Argentina, because they were going to go through the election, and it was possible that Milei was going to come in, and everyone was kind of skeptical about it. But they said, you know what, we need to get another foothold in the region. This will strengthen Brazil. It'll further move BRICS into that hemisphere. And I think that's how they were looking at it. And then when Argentina pulled out, I think that was a setback. So you still have Brazil on its own in a way. I believe you do have partner countries now in the region that I think Bolivia, if I'm not mistaken, Bolivia.
Yes, which is, well, I'm not super keen in geopolitics, but the guys that I have here, for example, they mentioned that Bolivia is kind of the heartland of South America.
Yeah, yeah. So you have partner.
Exactly.
Partner. I don't think they're I don't think they're going for full membership yet, but they are in the partner program, which is good. But I think there's a lot more headway that needs to be made in South America, and I think that will strengthen Brazil's position. It'll give Brazil more confidence, I believe, and I think that for China, it's extremely important for China to make more solid inroads. But of course, you always have the problem that China's over there, and now you have the United States up there, and the United States is looking at all of this as their territory, as their backyard. The question is, how far does it stretch? How far does the U.S.'s backyard stretch? Is it just going to Canada and maybe Mexico? Is Trump looking at Greenland? He's looking at the Panama Canal. Is he going further south? There's another thing. Brazil's a big country. It's a big country. It's a potentially very powerful country.
Yeah.
It's, if there's one country that can assert some sort of pushback, some sort of sovereignty against, say, the U.S. If the U.S. does say, well, we're looking at the entire North and South America as our backyard, I think it's Brazil that could say, wait a minute, we've got a say here as well.
Yeah.
We're going to see how it unfolds. I will make one more comment. When it came to Zelensky, it was Lula who figured out Zelensky very early on. And the reports are that Zelensky sent Lula 8 letters to meet with him. And Lula was like, "You're a joker. You're a clown. Get out of here." So, I mean, I know Lula he gets a lot of praise. He also gets a lot of criticism, but he's very clever.
No, he's I always say that he's not smart. He's clever.
He's clever.
Yeah. He's like, a tuna fish. Yeah. It's hard to grab.
He figured Zelensky out early.
Just recently, there was this story that the Italian whatever dude was sent to talk in the name of Zelensky, and Lula just said, "Get the hell out of here!
Get out of here!" Yeah. So, I mean, I think Brazil's gonna be fine within BRICS. I just think that the BRICS nations, and I think they understand this. They're focusing on the region, and they're trying to figure out ways to strengthen their position in the region. You're going to have to work with the United States on this. I really wish the Trump administration would understand the importance of BRICS as well. In that, for the United States, it's not about Europe anymore. I mean, what the United States should do is they should look at working with BRICS in a way. I know it's an impossible ask. And I'm being naive, but I think for a better future for the U.S. would definitely be to try and find a way to cooperate with BRICS and understand that Europe is a hot mess, and it's going to need decades and decades to fix.
You are absolutely right on your reading. I will add one thing. When you think about that, take this in consideration. We had, when Bolsonaro was elected, we had Trump on the United States. For 2 years, it was, Trump. He kind of left BRICS aside a little bit. And then when Biden won, he became, fatherless. That was the dynamics. Then he ran to BRICS. Then he came out with all these comments because, he's very right-wingish, capitalism against communism, those 70s and 60s stuff. And then he went to China and said, "Oh, I'm in a very capitalistic country," which 5 minutes before it was not. And he went to Putin and got some oil deals, some diesel deals, good for Brazil, good for everybody. To his credit, he did something decent. Then Lula got elected, and it was Biden. And Lula was, playing a very hard game. I give that to Lula. It's a very hard game there. As you said, I always say that. Brazil is in a separate rock from the rest of BRICS because Africa, Asia, and Europe, you can walk by. America is a different rock, and we have the great Satan in the top of it. But as soon as Trump won again, Lula kind of became fatherless on that. Then he starts pivoting to BRICS again. And with these tariffs that Trump put also in Brazil, it was 10%. It was not a biggie, but it was tariffs on Brazil. That kind of started pushing, even the U.S. cheerleaders from the Brazilian politics started being pushed on China's direction as well. We just had, the concierge of geopolitical affairs of the president. It's not an official, but, his personal concierge, Celso Amorim. Some months ago, just after the Valdai meeting, he said, "Oh, no, this Silk Road, this Belt and Road initiative, not interesting to Brazil." Just this day, he was, I never said it wasn't interesting. We should start building now. So we see that they're now, with some luck, Trump continues doing what he's doing, and Brazil can kind of, break free from this situation.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I mean, that's actually a very interesting point about Bolsonaro and Lula. You know what it highlights? It highlights that that countries are understanding that when you're dealing with the United States, you're dealing with a 4-year cycle, and you think that you have something going for 4 years, and then it changes, and everything's been flipped around. And so you don't really have the stability or the predictability, like Putin was saying. The predictability is important. The stability is important, and I think that's why BRICS is so powerful and is so appealing, in that it provides stability and predictability without the lecturing and without the ideology. It doesn't matter if you're left or right or center. The BRICS countries really don't care. What they're interested in is the development, the economic development of this organization, and the ideology is irrelevant. Where the collective West is very much, it's morphed into. It didn't used to be like this, but it really has morphed into an ideological project. Trump less so. Trump is more of a transactional type of guy, right? So he's looking at things not from ideology, like Biden and Blinken and Sullivan and all these guys. He's looking at things more from the lens of a transaction. But still, it's that predictability and stability that you just don't have if you're Brazil. You're saying today it's Biden, tomorrow it's Trump, the day after tomorrow it's Vance, or maybe it's Harris or Newsom. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, you don't know. and they bring in a whole different
dynamics.
Yeah. And so, I think for the United States, in all honesty, for the US, for the American people, for the future of the United States, I really think that if they could put the ideology and the empire of the neocon empire thinking, they can somehow remove that, they could actually benefit from working with BRICS. You don't have to be a member, but it will provide a lot of stability if you have the powers, the big powers involved in this organization. The U.S. working with this organization known as BRICS, I think it will provide a lot of stability, not only to the world, but also to the United States in a way. But you have to get rid of the neocons. You have to get rid of the neoliberals. It's not only the neocons, it's the neoliberals. You have to somehow find a way to get past that. I don't think that can happen. I think it's going to be extremely difficult. I don't know how that happens, but if you can do that, then I think that you can get a lot of stability in the world. But unfortunately, I think it's a big ask.
The colonialist, exceptionalist mindset. They just have to get rid of that. It's not that hard. But
a lot of that's in Europe. A lot of that's the influence of Europe.
All roads take to London.
Yeah, exactly. You got to somehow distance yourself from that European thinking.
Yeah, that's it.